And then, yeah, she's going to record this because it's a great presentation. I got it. Okay. So thank you guys for taking tonight out. Did you all enjoy the conference? Kudos to Sue and everyone Mark that did a presentation. I think it was probably one of the best ones I've been to. Of course, you've all been on more than I have. We're here tonight to learn about conflict, kick conflict to the curb. So this is our speaker is Joyce Weiss. She is the queen of conflict resolution. I met Joyce 20 some years ago. She was with me in Executive Women International. We did a lot of programs together, and I've done some work with her. She's just amazing. So I want to read her. Should I do that now, Joyce?
Yeah, okay. Because read it slowly because I'm admitting all these people.
Okay, Kathy Wilder came on. Who's that other print? Oh, Rocky. Okay, Rocky, cool. Maida's on, cool.
Hello.
So the only one I'm missing is Cindy, and Cindy knows Joyce also. We all did the same thing together for Executive Women International, where it's kind of like the same thing as Kiwanas. We serve the community of our kids. And the community. So we were big in literacy in Detroit Windsor chapter. Okay. So do you ever doubt yourself if you are good enough to be a lieutenant governor? Are you frustrated that you can't get members more involved? I think we all kind of feel that feeling every now and then. You'll be glad you're here tonight, because if you answered yes to any of those questions, you'll be glad you're here if you answer yes to any of those questions. And if not, you may be in serious denial. Our guest today received her master's degree in counseling from Oakland University and has written 3 books. She has been selected as the official World of Business and Executive Coach Summit curator in conflict resolution. That's probably Cindy. Kick Conflict to the Curb is her new live broadcast, which we are very lucky to be a part of, where she interviews thought-provoking leaders. She's only one of 215 women in the world who has earned their certified speaking professional. Joyce is the queen of conflict resolution and works with individuals and small groups so they feel confident using their voices without losing their cool. Well, we could have used that. She's had a great success in helping others with her conflict resolution strategies, except at her family gatherings. We all know about that. That's when she must call in Dr. Phil and Judge Judy. Please welcome communication coach, queen of conflict resolution, avid bike rider, bird watcher, and chocoholic, Joyce Weiss.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you, everybody. Now, Renee, before I actually officially start, is everybody on except Cindy?
Yes.
Okay,
yes, I think.
Because I will look. So, folks, forgive me if you see me going like this. It's not that I'm talking to family members. I just want to make sure, since I'm the host, I let everybody in. Okay, so imagine this. You get up in the morning and everything is going your way. There was no traffic. You're having a great hair day, and you sit at your desk and you say to yourself, I can handle the world today. And then your mind starts playing games and you start thinking about some of the challenges that you have as a lieutenant governor. That negative member who just drives everybody crazy in your chapter. Volunteers who need you, yet you don't want to be a micromanager, even though you want to support them. And how to get those members involved. You are in such a good mood. Now that negativity took over and you're feeling frustrated. I know that contentious relationships, disengaged members, and dreading those tough conversations can be frustrating for all of us. The good news, and I mean the good news, is it doesn't have to be that way, and you can handle and figure out how to figure that out. And these are easy to resolve. What you need is to make conversation safe. And then you can figure out how to resolve your conflicts without taking up much of your time. Does this sound hopeful, folks? If so, shake your head and say yes. Okay, yay. So if you're ready to finally kick conflict to the curb so that you can continue having happy members and feeling even more confident that you do as a lieutenant governor, I'd like you to roll up your sleeves and let's get started. So today, we're going to talk about three main things: the imposter syndrome and how we allow negativity to ruin our success, the importance of humility as a leader, and how to make conversation safe so you can start almost any conversation. And in between all of these three topics, I'm going to be sprinkling in my favorite curiosity coaching questions, because this really helps all my clients. So today it's about you. I'm looking around at every single one of you. And I want the spotlight on you with your questions and your knowledge. Sure, I'm going to start, and I will be sharing stories about my clients and about case scenarios. But then I'm going to be asking you to figure out how you can add your opinion too. It's something very, very important to me. It's not a speech. This is not, I'm going to be talking, yeah, but mainly, I'd like you to go like this. If you say, okay, Joyce, I think I can, I'll add my opinion when I'm asked. If you like that idea, just let me see, have a little movement so I'll see you. Yeah, if not, okay, I'm no guarantee that I'm not going to ask you, don't worry. No, but this is going to be stress-free. I'm the only one because I keep on looking to make sure that everybody is coming in. So we're going to take a poll, and it's not the traditional Zoom poll that both of us know. I want you, when I got done with the directions, to put up one finger if you feel that you're a new leader, 2 fingers if you feel you're intermediate, and 3 fingers if you think you're pretty advanced and you've been a leader for a while. So where are everybody now put either 1, 2, or 3 so I can see. So we've got 2s, 3s, 2s, 3s, 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 3s. That's great. That's great. So I'll know. So we don't have any onesies. Excuse me for sounding so professional. Well, great. So most growth-minded audiences like coming to my programs because they learn and they participate and they problem solve. So let's first talk about the number one topic, which is the imposter syndrome and how it negatively impacts our mindset and how we think. So as Renee asked in the waiting room.
Cindy?
Yes, good.
Yay.
So this says, yay.
Yay.
Good. So is doubt, like Renee asked when she introduced me, is doubt keeping you stuck? Do you wonder if you're good enough to be a successful lieutenant governor? Do you doubt giving and sharing your ideas with leaders, even though you've got great success that you can talk about? So I had a chance to research a top executive for a program that I did last week in Traverse City. And I said to him, so do you ever experience imposter syndrome? And he started to laugh. So the laughter sort of told me, I think we're onto something. He said, Joyce, I think about it every day. Am I good enough? And I'm going to tell you right now, Joyce, I am in charge of a brand new global team, and I'm a nervous wreck. And I'm freezing. I'm stopping myself right now. So I said, what do you have to do to stop that? And he said, well, I I say to myself, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And we're going to talk about the imposter syndrome so that everybody really understands it and how it impacts every single person on this screen, including Renee and Joyce. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Matt. Matt is a client of mine, and he was really feeling invisible when he was meeting with other leaders. And he decided, oh gosh, I don't know, am I smart enough to give my opinion? And he didn't assert himself. And he figured that he didn't want to ask trivial questions. So he said, Joyce, I can't continue like this. I said, okay, roll up your sleeves. Let's figure out what you have to do. So he paused, took a breath, and got curious. I would like everyone please to say right now, pause, even though I can't hear you, which is fine, but I can see your mouth. Pause.
Pause.
Oh,
Oh, good. If you're on, breathe and get
Breathe.
curious and get
Breathe.
curious.
and get
When-
curious.
Thank you. When the imposter syndrome starts, oh, I'm not good enough. And you know what these words are for you. We've got to start doing those three things: pausing, breathing, and getting curious. And by doing that, Matt started, he said, Joyce, I know what I can do. I know a bridge that I can do, that I can make between me and the other colleagues and figure out how I can join the conversations. And he said, sometimes the conversations are, well, really good. Sometimes there's just no connection. And he said, the good thing though, Joyce, is I don't feel invisible anymore. So would you like to find out how he did it? If so, say, you bet.
You bet.
You bet.
Okay. So he paused, he breathed, and he got curious. And when we do get to the handouts, which I'm going to share on the screen, there are questions that you're going to have when you leave this session, because you've got them in your hands. What don't I know? That is my favorite question when imposter syndrome. What don't I know? What am I making up? Folks, all of us make things up that aren't true. His self-doubt was stopping him from interacting with the leaders, correct? They didn't have anything against Matt. It's what Matt was feeding his mind. And this is the one, I don't care how often I say it. Don't take things personally. Well, I know we all do. So there, let's get the elephant out of the room. We all take things personally. So it had nothing to do with Matt. The leaders liked him. It's all about him. Now I want to talk about Lisa, and then I'm going to give you a chance to participate. Lisa is an HR client of mine, and she always sends her direct reports to me for either career development, or if they're bullies, or the opposite, if they need to learn how to speak up. But this time she said, Joyce, I need a quick start session. I am the only female on my team. I love it that we have a mixture here. Yay, Renee. And so she said, I'm the only female on the team, and everybody else on that team, they're sarcastic. They discount my comments, and I'm starting to feel like I don't belong there. Do I have what it takes to succeed? So, of course, I had Lisa breathe, get curious, and pause. And I said to her, why are you qualified for this job? She said, Joyce, you're not being a good coach. You're not listening to me. I'm not qualified. And I again said, Lisa, I know that's what you're saying. I want you to please think about it for a moment. Why are you qualified? So we went back and forth for a few minutes until she finally stopped herself. And she said, well, I've got a great education. I have many certificates as an HR pro. I have experience before this job, and I'm open to constant learning. So every time she said one of these, I saw her self-confidence get higher and higher. It was coming back. And that's what we have to do when that imposter syndrome gets in our way. Is this a powerful story or what? Yes, no, yes? Okay,
Yeah.
good, because we're going to come to you, I promise. So the imposter syndrome, you feel like a fraud. I don't deserve to be lieutenant governor. I don't deserve a raise, a promotion, even though you have put in tons of service and your resume is phenomenal. Self-doubt and negative self-talk cripples every single one of us. So how do we get rid of it? You've got to let go of your inner perfectionism. How many people besides me are perfectionists? Don't be ashamed. I'm not proud of it, but we have to admit it. Okay, not every single, but the ones who aren't, lucky you. If you happen to be a perfectionist, this is harder for you because you want everything to be right. You get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. And by that time, you're 700 years old. So we have to embrace the imposter syndrome and ask these curiosity questions. We have to go deep. People who don't know about their imposter syndrome, they aren't lucky enough as you because they don't know about it and all they are is stuck. Whereas you could say, why am I qualified? What am I making up? Am I taking things personal? So the opposite, of course, is feeling totally self-confident. You're capable, you're competent, and you recognize the success you have achieved. So this is now self-reflection time. And I hope that if you have a pencil on your own piece of paper, if you could write down something that spoke to you about what I said so far about the imposter syndrome, something that's speaking to you. If you could write this down, I'll wait, for a minute, I'll do a timer. So how many people have some kind of idea of something that spoke to you? If so, just nod your head so I'll know. I'm not. Okay. So who here would like to share what you put down? There's no judgment in this room. You're with a coach here. There's no judgment. Just the good news is it's good for all of us to know what are you picking up? Anybody who's brave to go first? What did you pick up? What's speaking to you? Yes, Cindy.
Hi, Joyce. Long
Hi.
time no see.
Oh, it's great to have you here.
Yes. The negative self-talk is something that I have always dealt with. And so I actually do positive self-talk to myself. I will get that, oh, you're the stupidest person in this room. And I say, no, I am absolutely not the stupidest person. I immediately kick it right. I nip it right in the bud with that. But I have that issue.
The thing is, though, and I thank you very much for being brave and being the first one and sharing that. The thing is, Cindy, as you move forward, I'm going to have imposter syndrome again. But the more you feed your mind in a positive way, the less time it takes you to get rid of it. At least that one. Another one will appear. We can't help it. I'm not saying that, oh, you're all cured. No, but thank you. Is there anybody else who wrote something down about your own? What spoke to you about your own?
Okay, guys, I'll go because nobody else is talking here.
Okay.
Mine it's been with me for a long time is, am I good enough to lead a group of people? Because, just from where I came from, I just never felt I was good enough or smart enough to know what to give to a team that I would lead, and making sure that, I knew enough to tell them and share with them, and then how I presented it. So I just never, to this day, am keep asking myself, am I good enough to be here?
That's great. Thank you. I mean, it's great that you know that, and now you know what to do. Am I good enough? Sure, figure out why you are. And we're going to get to that in a second. So I see that Kathy, I believe Kathy wanted
Wow.
to say something on her iPhone. If that's true, Kathy, would you please speak up?
Yeah, this resonates quite a bit. I've been secretary of our club for 8 years, and my goal has always been to support our presidents, so that and our club to achieve great things, and so now I'm on that pathway, and I'm also, as lieutenant governor, going to be um, instilling that spirit in the clubs in my division. And so I wrote down, I am qualified and I know why I'm here. So that's my statement, and I'm sticking with it.
And I
Good
thank
job.
you. Kathy, I'd stand up and give you a standing ovation, but then you'd see my blue jeans. So, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I mean, we're going to have some other self-reflections. I'm going to stop there, but I'm going to go on to, since you have volunteers that you're mentoring and you're coaching them, I would like to share with you something, a story that happened, and hopefully you'll be able to really relate. That sounds relate to the story for your own volunteers. So Wendy, a top executive, noticed that a new leader, Brian, was very, very nervous when he was giving presentations. And during some of his training sessions, Wendy did not want to hurt his feelings, but she also didn't want to be a micromanager. Does this sound familiar for you? You want to help your people, but you don't want to make them feel lousy. So Wendy asked, and I said, instead of sharing the handouts, you're going to have them. So I may go on them later on tonight, but you're going to have them. So I'm going to refer to them. And then if you've got them in front of you, great. If not, at least you know you're going to have them after the session. So she asked the curiosity questions to Brian, such as, tell me what you think of your new role. Tell me more about this, Brian. So Brian said, Wendy, I am so exhausted. I do all the PowerPoint. I stay up late at night obsessing over the presentation. I know I have to do this, but I tell you, I'm a nervous wreck. So Wendy didn't stop there. She went deeper, and these curiosity questions are in your handouts. She said, what don't you want to happen? What do you want to happen? What do you need from me? And Brian said, I am so nervous in front of my peers that I'm going to be a failure. Boom, folks. The imposter syndrome came out. And that's what I'm hoping will happen to you when you talk to your volunteers and you ask these questions in a real gentle way. You are going to then be able to hear them the problem under the problem, which is usually an imposter syndrome fear. So Wendy then went on and made some suggestions and asked, are you open? Hey, why don't you ask other people on your team to help make the PowerPoint, take the spotlight off of you and put it on them. And this is the part that the favorite part of the story. Brian said, Wendy, when you said, what do I need from you? Knowing that you're in my corner is the most important thing. And I get chills every time I tell this story. So when it comes to your own imposter syndrome with your volunteers, I suggest that you share your own imposter syndrome. It's a sign of strength when we talk about some of these, especially when you figure out how to do it. That's so important. And there's a statement in the handout that says, I know you can lead this big project. I've seen you succeed before and believe in you. Is that cool or what? But we've got to say these things. So Renee, I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you ever experienced, and quickly, because I want to get right into humility, but if you can quickly tell us, Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome?
Yep, back in 1994, I joined Executive Women International and followed Amazing Women, saw what they did, and then silently wishing that was something I could do. And then someone came up and said, I think you should run for president of EWI. And I'm like, I don't think so, because I'm not qualified enough. But because of the mentors telling me you can do it, we've got a support team behind you, I went on to become the president in 1998. I did it again a few years later, and I was also on the international board of directors for 4 years, but I didn't think that I could do it.
Here you go. And look who's going to be your governor. I mean, this Renee, I thank you for being authentic and real, because do you see how important it is that Renee shared this with you? You know, if she experienced it, whoa, I'm not so bad. And remember, I said, we're not alone. Everybody experiences it. People who say, oh, not me, they haven't figured it out yet. But even though they may be in that right suit and the right necklace or the right watch, they experience it. So we talked about the imposter syndrome. I want to go to the importance of humility as a leader. This is your secret sauce. I know, because most of you said that you're either intermediate or advanced leader. You know this by now. The lack of humility is still an issue with leaders. There's thousands of books and podcasts about leadership, yet there's such a gap in America. When people come to me for coaching, it's usually because they weren't trained to be a leader. We train people for technical skills, don't we? But how about leadership? Except not this group. Look at, you have meetings like this all the time. So yay to you. So how do you show up to work when you don't have all the answers? And this is in your handout. And these are the statements about humility, the importance of humility as a leader. And that's on page 3, for those of you following it. Knowing you don't have all the answers is a sign of strength. We're not supposed to have all the answers. Remember that it's complex, yet you constantly learn. Support direct reports when they're making mistakes. And you've got to ask yourself and ask them, what lessons did we learn? Instead of constantly beating ourselves up about those mistakes. Is there anybody here? And this is when you can unmute yourself. Waiting room. More people. Okay. Denise.
Who's coming in? Denise? Oh, yeah, that's when I said we'll be late. Yep.
Okay. So is there anybody here who's ever experienced a leader without humility that you could tell us quickly about the situation, what kind of person, what kind of leader he or she was? Anybody? Don't feel bad if you don't. I'm just asking if you do. Yep.
Well, I had a sergeant I used to work for that was always could spout you everything out of the book, but didn't do anything. And if he ever made a mistake, like leaving a certain person in a basement fire, he would come up and say that, oh, this is it. It was your fault that I left you there, basically, instead of, so he had no humility to admit that he made mistakes, as we all do. We all have incidents where we have things, but he couldn't have any, so.
Ouch. And was he a leader for a long time, Eric?
Yeah, even after I left, he got promoted to director of the department, so I
Excuse
left at a
me.
good time.
Oh, as I gag and I just ate dinner. It's not but I'm sorry to say I hear these stories all the time, and so does everybody here. Well, thank you. Let's give Eric a round of applause for participating. Woo! I know I could have done that to everybody else. Cindy, unmute yourself so we can hear you. I can't, you're muted. Yes.
I was just congratulating him for stepping up. That's all. I was just
Yes.
waving hands. That's all.
That's all. Well, that's huge. Thank you. Oh, I knew I liked you, Cindy, when I met you years ago. Okay, so is everybody with me about humility and the importance? I don't want anybody in this room by 9 o'clock to leave thinking that humility is your secret sauce. So I now want to introduce you to Ron. Ron came to me because he was very excited. He was going to share what the company is doing with his colleagues and his peers. And he needed a little help with his presentation skills. So we practiced that, and his PowerPoint was perfect. It was the day of the meeting, and he was even more excited than ever until he had to share the screen. And what happened? Anyone want to guess?
Sue,
Thank you.
unmute. Tell us what happened. Sue has this all the time. Sue, unmute it.
Technical difficulties.
You read my notes. Darn it, Sue. Yes, absolutely. The share the screen didn't work. So because I worked with Ron before, he knew to pause, take a deep breath, and get curious. He paused, took a deep breath, and he said, okay, Ron, I talked about it with Joyce. Curious, what button am I not seeing? He knew in 10 or 15 seconds he was going to get it fixed. But he had a supervisor named Jody without any humility. And she figured he's failing in front of his peers. It was going to be a bad reflection on her. She took over for the rest of the meeting. So this is a leader without humility. Part of humility is that we have to accept the fact that things aren't perfect. Everything is an experiment, and we really can't fail. And when we get this in our heads, when we have volunteers, members that try something new, and let's say they did a lousy job, well, so did we at one time. I don't have time for this presentation, but I had 3,000 people walk out of me on one of my first speeches. So do you think I learned something since then? Yeah, I know you're going to say, well, tell us. So bring me back another time. No time, because I want this to be about you. So these are some of the questions on page 3 that you'll be able to print if you didn't. What's happening here? These are the humility questions you ask yourself. What's happening here? How do you see it? How can I support you? What may be possible? What is one small action? So one of my favorite questions that I covered during the imposter syndrome is, what don't I know? Do you remember that I was talking about that? So with Matt and what he didn't know. So there I was a few years ago. I was a keynote speaker for 30 years. And then I decided I was tired of COVID came, and it was a good time for me to move beyond being a keynote speaker. I was tired of travel. I didn't like the audiences because they didn't want to be there because they weren't growth-minded people. There were lots of reasons. So I decided I wanted to transfer those skills and become a facilitator, of which I'm showing today, plus a coach. So I'm now a combination. So there I was, first time that I facilitated a group, and I started out with a power story that I decided to take from my keynote days, and I always got a good reception. Not this time. People were yawning, they were looking at their watch, and I was saying, ooh, to myself. So then I said, okay, but they probably need a little energy. They look a little tired. So I said, everybody get up. And I had a real cute way for them to get a partner. No one got up. So I decided, because I didn't know at that time about these questions that we're talking about today. What didn't I know? I didn't ask that. So for the next 50 minutes, I became a keynote speaker again. And I just told stories, but they were nodding off. And after it was finished, I went up to the meeting planner And before I opened up my mouth, he said to me, Joyce, oh, I forgot to tell you, we had a 2-hour cocktail party before your presentation. He wasn't mad at me. I was, but I was not mad at myself because I didn't know at that time that in the middle, and this is so, please hear me, folks, it's okay to stop the process if you see it's not working. Now, today, if I saw you not engaged, I mean, I'm not looking at each one of you, don't worry. Maybe I should, right? I'm not, because I see the people who are, they're smiling when I was hoping they would. And I feel that it's important for me to get through. Stop the process. Ask, what don't I know? Just think if I would have said that, they would have said, Joyce, you seem like a nice lady. I've just had drinks for 2 hours. I just want to go back to my hotel room. I didn't know. We don't all know, but we learn, don't we? And that wasn't a mistake. That was just lack of knowledge. So in your handouts, you have some books that I just love about humility as a leader. Take a look at them. Look at them on Amazon. I recommend all 3 of them. So I'm going to stop. This is reflection time for those of you that came in a little later. I'm not saying late because I'm not going, you came in a little later. I want you to write down, what did this portion of the importance of humility as a leader speak to you? What did you learn or relearn about yourself? If you could write that down, and then I'll have a couple of you, if you want to, share. I'll shut up. So what spoke to you? You could think about it or write it down. This is self-reflection time. Okay. Even though some of you are still writing, and thank you very much for doing that, I think you've got hopefully an idea that you may want to share. So whatever it is that you wrote down, why don't we have a few of you share what you wrote? Because this is also always so good with your team to find out what spoke to some of you. And then afterwards you could say, hey, that was mine too. And you can have a great conversation. Who wants to go? Who's brave?
I guess I can go first.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I was just gonna say the one thing that kind of re-spoke to me is, and I tell my clients this all the time, is the fact by not knowing something, it is a strength, because then you get to learn, you get to do more, and kind of going back to that point you made, and it's something I tell everybody, but I don't always put to myself. So
what are you gonna do as you move forward, Eric?
try to give myself that little bit of grace and to remember that I need to learn too, because that gives me a chance for growth.
Life is, this is how I see it. Life is an experiment. There's no failure. We've all had failures. You can look at that way. I give a whole program on forgiveness. This is something new, Renee. I am beyond excited about that. And part of forgiveness is letting yourself free. I know I sound, like Martin Luther King, considering we heard so many of his wonderful quotes today. And that's so important, Eric. Thank you. Have a little grace for ourselves. We beat ourselves up. I don't care. We do. And if you don't, good for you. I'm not saying everybody on the screen does, but most of us do. So it's nice to have a little grace. I'm going to quote you and be a little nicer to ourselves because we learn. So who else wants to go? I know.
Joyce, I'll say
Yes.
something real quick. I've been in the volunteer world since 1994, whatever. And everyone says, oh, I don't know if I can do this, or what happens if I make a mistake? And I always say to them, the one thing about being a volunteer is you can't be fired. And the fact that if you feel you're making a mistake, it's an opportunity to learn. So ask the questions and learn. And that's what we're all about. And no one's going to fire you.
Oh. You've got a fearless leader here. Thank you. Yes, Sue.
Joyce, I want to comment, you talked about, getting into a program and having a direction of going one way and then it doesn't work and moving a different way. Well, if you will all remember our education program when we were together in May, how we started going with things, and I said, we're done. We just had the book and we moved our own way.
Yeah.
Because we read and we knew right then and there that what we had planned wasn't right. But, we can plan all that and get all that stuff together and it just doesn't always fit.
And you stopped it.
We stopped it and said, you know what? We're going a different way.
Okay, I am standing up.
Based on what the team was looking for.
I'd be standing up for all of you. Okay, that was a good thing. Hey, if anybody wants to stand up because you've been sitting all day, feel free. This is your lesson. Yes, please, Maida.
I just wanted to sort of comment on what Sue said. I was going to say this earlier, but I didn't, and that's a perfect example. That was a good example of humility, and I find that when a leader does show that humility, I know the one thing, if a person asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I say, thank you, I have no idea, but I'm going to try hard to find out. I like not to know things because I don't mind going, and that's how I grow and learn more. But the point about what Sue was saying, when a good leader shows that humility, they empower the workers or the group.
Yes.
And that's really important because to be a good leader, you've got to have good followers, and if you're not humble, if you don't exercise humility, they really don't appreciate you, and you're never going to get the best out of them. You're never going to see what potential they have so that you can empower them and help them to grow and make the team much more powerful and stronger.
Absolutely. And I'm going to ask this to you. I'm not putting you on the spot. If you don't want to answer, you can just look at me like you don't understand English. Were you ever in your life not full of humility? And I'm not going to ask you to tell us. I'm just curious.
No, I really always have been, but I always felt weak about it. I felt
Fine.
like, I felt like maybe I was a pushover or that was being looked at, so no, but I've truly grown past that. I'm so much more comfortable. I'm going through a particular process, which I think Renee goes, but we're not going to talk about that. But one of the questions that was asked me by the team that's I have to meet with for 6 times, they said, have you ever experienced failure, and how did you respond, and how did you feel it? And I'm like, oh my God, I really never did experience failure because my philosophy is it happened for a reason. So I didn't fail. I just don't know. There's something I don't know. There's that puzzle, Renee, there's that piece that's just not fitting. And I've got to keep going till it snaps into place.
Absolutely. Thank you. Something in me just had to ask you that. And I'm so glad I did. And I thank you for allowing the curiosity coach here, the nosy one. Okay. So we talked about the imposter syndrome. We talked about humility, the importance of humility. Now, making conversation safe. And we're right on time. We're stopping right at 9:00. So I'm going to be sharing one tool from the Weiss Communication Success Plan. It's tricky not to set someone off. Isn't that true? You open your mouth, and how many of us say, oh my God, I didn't mean that. Why did they get defensive? It's so tricky, especially during tough conversations. We put our foot in our mouth. So this making conversations safe is going to help you. It's not going to guarantee that you're never going to put your foot in your mouth. I still will. I did yesterday at a baby naming. Okay. So it's important to have a communication plan when we deal with tough conversations. If you're sitting in a car and it's not electric, You have to have the fob. You have to know how to look through the windows, the windows, the mirrors, and you have to know how to drive. Most of the time during tough conversations, we drive like we're blindfolded. There's no plan, there's no progress, there's just frustration. Making conversation safe gives you the direction. So when you open up your mouth, at least you know a proven tool that's easy to learn. So if you want me to continue, please say, "You bet, Joyce."
You bet, Joyce.
Joyce.
Okay, I see. Some of you are muted, some of you aren't. You're doing great. I can't believe it. Where the dog's barking. So there I was, and I want to tell you a real quick personal story. Then we're going to get right into some case scenarios that Renee and I came up with that you experienced. So there I was. Oh, by the way, making conversation safe, all it is I want to, I don't want to. Everybody say this with me. I want to,
I want to.
I don't want to.
I don't want to.
That's all it is. And this is just the beginning. There's all kinds of different processes to continue conversations, but at least this is making conversation safe is one of the first steps. I want to, I don't want to. So I wanted to talk to my adult son, Ron, and he's an attorney, very busy. I called him up and I said, "Hi, Ron, I'd like to have a conversation with you, something that's really important to me." He said, "Sure, Mom, you can come over. I got about 10 minutes. Isn't that sound typical of a kid, right? A kid, he's an adult with his own kids. So I walked into his office and I started out saying, "Ron, I don't want to create stress between us. I don't want to. I do want to have an important conversation between a mom and her son. Are you willing to listen? I want to have an important conversation. I don't want to create stress." You're with me, yes? Okay. It's very easy, but you got to still practice it. So that 10-minute conversation led to an hour. He closed his door because I started it safe. Now, I'm going to have you, and we're going to get together as a group and do this. I'm going to start with this case scenario, and somebody is just going to say, "Let me try it." And then somebody else has said, "No, I think we could even make it better." So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to start somebody else's way. I got another idea. We're going to first do that, then come the curiosity questions afterwards, such as, "Tell me more about this. How do you see this? What don't I know?" We'll get to that in a moment. So this is the case scenario. Oh, by the way, if you're writing, I wrote this down in my notes. Please write this down. If you don't speak up, you are part of the problem. You've all heard that, but this is like, could be my middle name. It's a very long middle name. It's really Lynn, but if you don't speak up, you're part of the problem. Don't talk to me about what the leader's doing. Did you talk to the leader? If not, yes. I mean, we could argue about that. Some of you may say, "No, that's a little harsh." Well, I think sometimes we have to be harsh to ourselves. So this is a case scenario. How to make a conversation safe with a volunteer who's causing stress in your meetings. You don't want to be rude, yet this behavior is getting in the way of your team. So you see the case scenario. Who wants to say, "Okay, let me just try it"? How would you start the conversation? I want to, and by the way, don't use the word you. Ooh, I'm going to make it hard. I want to, I don't want to. Who wants to say, "Joyce, I'll try"? I want to, I don't want to. You're going to be saying this to the volunteer who is causing a lot of stress in your meetings. Please.
I'd say, I want to give you a safe spot to voice your opinion, but I don't want to take up too much time. I can't give everybody else the same ability.
Say the beginning again if you can remember.
I don't want to stop you from being able to express your feelings, basically give you a safe space to talk. But I also don't want to not be able to give that same time to everybody else in the group.
Anybody want to make that better? You got my stamp of approval, Eric, except for one word. But you said, I want to, basically, I want to support you. That's not what you said. I like the way you said it better. Then you said, but when you remove but, you've got an A+. And I was a very easy school teacher when I taught in Detroit. What did I know? I was, so young. I said, sure. I'm a little tougher now. You got an A+ on that. So everybody, I want you to raise your right hand. I solemnly swear to take but out of that equation. To take but out of that equation. I love you, dear, but please take off your socks.
Joyce, can you remove the word or replace can't? Like, instead of saying I want to, can you say I understand what you're feeling or what you want to do?
Yes. Then how would you say what you don't want?
Yeah, but I have to use the word but. So I understand where you're going, and I don't want to not listen and move forward with it as we have, but we have other people, like Eric said. We
Okay, so I have no problem with you starting out. I want to, because that really is what you're saying. I want to understand. You're doing what I'm suggesting, Renee. I want to understand what you're saying, and I don't want to take up too much time because we've got so many other people here too. So you're telling them in so many words, you're going to have to shut up, buddy, because we're not here to talk to just you.
Okay.
That came out very harsh. Sorry. I don't swear. At least on Zoom, I don't. So that's very, very important. Yeah, but that's a great question. So let's say we took what both Eric and Renee talked about. Then you can say, tell me more about this. I mean, not, if it's a one-on-one, not if it's a whole group, but if you're with that stressful volunteer, tell me more about this. How do you see it? What don't I know? And you may hear some stuff from this stressful, a volunteer, my life is just horrible right now. I am just on pins and needles, and I can see I'm taking it on the team. You don't know what they're going to say, but you got to have that conversation because you're the leader and you've got to let them know what you want and what you don't want. Yes or no, folks?
Yes.
Okay. So again, all of the handouts that you have, they have all the curiosity questions and the I want and I don't want. So this is the first time I'm going to ask you to write in the chat. So Renee, would you get ready? And don't send it until I say send it.
Wait a minute. How do I get into the chat more?
Okay, you know what? Forget it. You know what, Renee?
Oh, there
because
it
of
is.
time. Are you sure?
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Are you sure?
Says,
Okay.
Continue the conversation. Okay.
Does everybody see their chat? If so, great. If not, we can just have you say it. You know what? Forget it. Okay. This is my meeting, even though I'm I'm a guest. Forget the chat.
Okay.
My question is, what is your biggest takeaway? We're not going to go around the room because I'm very, very time, efficient when it comes to people's time. Who wants to share what your biggest takeaway was today? And maybe somebody who we haven't heard from. No, that's great. If not, it could be the same people. What's your biggest takeaway from today? Your aha.
Let me offer something, if I could. If anything, everything that we've talked about here is probably something I've encountered off and on in different situations in different roles, whether it's at work or at home or in Kiwanis. But what this does is it reinforces what you've learned before. And it's the old story of sharpening the axe and retuning your skills.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm giving you a standing ovation for saying that. I love that. I love that. We're always sharpening our skills. That is the growth-minded people are, right, Mark? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Time for one more. Who else? What was your biggest takeaway?
Come on,
No one
guys.
else, if no one else is gonna speak up, I'm gonna say I'm gonna try that I don't want to, I do want to technique.
Great. That's terrific.
What I tend to say is, I hear you, but then I always say but that is not the direction that we're
Okay.
going to go in when I have people who are not gonna stop until you give them what they want.
But this technique, Cindy, and everybody else, it's going to give you the control of the conversation.
Yeah.
I want to, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to. Then they're going to know exactly what your expectations are.
Right.
So awesome. Okay, you're going to force me to do it. Yay, standing ovation for you too. So just imagine your future as a lieutenant governor for the next year. You feel comfortable in your role. You handle tough conversations well. You make mistakes and you don't beat yourself up as much. All your clubs are communicating like a well-oiled machine. I encourage you to take these insights that we talked about tonight, take those handouts and read them. 20% of what you're going to go when you're going to move forward is all about insight. 80%, you're going to actually use these new insights if you have mental muscle and if you implement them. So we talked about the imposter syndrome. You have the skills and stop that negativity. We discussed the importance of humility, and you're going to get to work and you're going to not have all the answers, and you're going to say yay. And you're going to make conversations safe. Continue being curious for yourself and your team. Now, I invite you to connect with me if you are on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/IN/Joyce Weiss. I would love to connect with you. If you want to discover if private coaching is right for you, send me an email. And in the subject line, just put kick conflict to the curb. And that's when we're going to discuss how you can confidently use your voice so you can feel confident using your ideas and you don't feel invisible and you handle those tough conversations. You all impressed me. I want to thank you for staying up at this, because some of you, usually I don't do this at this hour. Usually we've got morning. So I love this because I had a chance to have dinner and prepare. Hopefully you're going to stop dreading those tough conversations. You feel more comfortable using your voice and you feel confident in your skin, just like John Denver, who's saying, like fish in the ocean and birds in the air. So you can go kick conflict to the curb. So I want to thank Renee and Sue for bringing me to you. Again, I am so impressed with what you do in your community with your members. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Joyce. Joyce is also going to be putting an article in the Builder. So all her information, her article, and then all her information will be there. Like she said, she is available if you have group meetings and you want, someone to come in as wonderful as Joyce is to talk. She's available, but all her information will be there, and watch for her article in the Builder. And I thank you very, very much, Joyce, for doing this. I think it came at a good time for us as we get ready to take on our official year, October 1st. We're going to continue training and learning, making mistakes and learning from them and hearing each other. And just, it's such a great team that, we run things past. And I think the biggest word change for me is but to and. So that when you take that but out of there and use the word and, it truly changes the meaning of what you're trying to say. So thank you for that. And
You're welcome.
holler, thank you. If you need anything else, just give us a shout. And if you guys want to get in touch with Joyce, let me know, or just reach out to her. Okay, you guys, great job.
Thanks,
You said bye,
Joyce.
Thank
Cindy,
you,
yeah.
everybody.
Joyce.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
It was a great,
Thanks.
great evening that we spent here. So we will, what's up next? Yeah, Sue, you have to unmute, Sue. Unmute.
I have one
Okay.
quick note to make. I will be sending, Eric, I'll send you and Renee the installation script for the puzzle pieces. I'm
Cool.
making a couple, I had to let it sit for a couple hours to make sure I got all the right words in and took out all the butts. And I've added some other things that, like, things you could consider doing as far as, like, presenting a pin or a certificate and that type of stuff. So I will send that to you guys if you want to take a look at it. It'll be ready to go for you. You'll just need to, if you're going to use it, pick up some puzzles as a way to, once you read it, you'll see that it's either you can make the puzzle, the outside of the puzzle, like the foundation of the board, and then all the members put their pieces in the middle, or you can make the inside of the puzzle, all the but and flip it around and say the inside of the puzzle is the board and the outside is the members. So whichever way you want to do it, you can pick out some puzzles, you can glue it together however you want to. Dollar Tree, those items, but I will get that out to you. Oh, and Kathy just said if anybody needs puzzles, to let her know. She can get them from the Kiwanas thrift store.
Yeah, I've already got envelopes made for all of you. So I bought an 8.5 by 11 package of puzzle pieces. I was going to mail all of you enough, like, Cindy, I have to give her a little bit more. Some of you only have 2 or 3 or 4. So I'll mail you enough so that you can take one puzzle if you want to each installation and give it, like Sue said, you can have the members, once you install them, they can put the pieces to puzzle together. You can glue it if you want. You can put it, they have special paper, but yeah, Sue came up with the idea to have the puzzle pieces. And I know, Dwayne, you asked for it earlier, so you will get those as soon as Eric and I get them. And then I'll put the puzzle pieces, I'll mail them as quickly as I can, because I know a lot of you are having installations coming up. And if you want, do whatever you want with the white ones, or if you want, the ones Kathy has, reach out to Kathy. She has boxes and boxes of puzzles, and you can use them any way you want.
Or like I said, I think you can go, if you got puzzles, you can let people, have fun puzzles, right?
Yeah.
Just don't buy the 1,000 piecers.
Yeah.
But you could buy the, the kids' big ones or whatever Kathy has, but it'll be something fun to do. And it's all based, I worked it around Renee's goals. So I'll get that out to Eric and Renee yet tonight.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you,
I appreciate it.
Sue. Thank you.
I'm excited. I can't wait to get it. Okay. So yes, Bonnie.
I took puzzle pieces, the 10 in a pack, and because I have 10 clubs, and I put a puzzle piece in that says Michigan and one for Division 11, and then I surrounded it with other puzzle pieces for each one of my divisions and made colors. So when we go to that installation, they're going to pick out a piece and write their name on it. So it will have a puzzle of Division 11.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
That's cool. Great.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. There's many ways you guys can use puzzles. Color them, already get the pretty fancy ones, or, the mermaid ones, or whatever ones you guys want.
And remember, there's lots of different puzzles. There's Rubik's Cube. I mean, there's mechanical puzzles. You can think of all different kinds of puzzles, however you want to use them. I'm going to specifically work with puzzle pieces in that way. But if you think of something else, or you want to talk about other puzzles, you can do that as well.
And again, it's the message is you're bringing the pieces together and making a team by putting your clubs and your members all together on one puzzle.
Right.
Renee, what is your theme for that? Is it just reconnect or is there
Yeah.
more to it? Just
It's-
reconnect.
Yeah, I just put reconnect, and then I've just been adding sentences like bringing, in my article for the builder, it'll show like the reconnect, but bringing all the pieces together as a team.
Okay.
So it's
Cool.
reconnect, yeah, just surrounded by puzzle pieces.
So I can read you part of it. Have you thought about the number of puzzles that are in our daily lives? Puzzles are a part of them. There are crossword puzzles, number puzzles, and jigsaw puzzles. The unique thing about puzzles is that until the last piece is put into place, the puzzle is incomplete. Every piece is needed. Likewise, every member of this organization is essential. If one person fails to attend a meeting or a function, a piece of this club is missing, making it incomplete. A Kiwanis club cannot accomplish very much alone, but when all the pieces are put together, the club can be something wonderful.
Yeah.
Yay.
I
Awesome.
love it.
Okay, guys, go to bed, or I'm going to bed. You guys can stay up as late as you want.
I'm going to bed.
I'm
See
going
ya.
to bed. See ya. Have a
Bye.
good weekend.
Good to
Talk
see
you later.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
Joyce.
you.
You're very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.